Hi everyone, so I'm back again to do a different flower for you this time. This time I'm going to do a David Austin rose. This is one I've done ready to colour. Hang on. This is one that I've done ready to colour. There's a lot of petals in this, so what I will do is I'll have breaks in between while I'm doing a lot of the petals on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by showing you so the cutters that I've used for the David Austin rose are three sizes of petal cutters here. So I started off with a very small one, a medium one and a large rose. Now it depends on how big you want your flower to be, but if you're doing this kind of rose then you need to start with a very small petal cutter for this. I would say this is probably about 3/4 of an inch, and that one's probably about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches, and then that one's about 2 inches. So that probably gives you the closest guide that I can give you. I should have, if I'd have brought a ruler up, I could have told you the exact sizes. Anyway, first of all I'm going to start off with 26 gauge wire. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to cut this into 3. I'm only going to do one of these because there are a lot of different sections to this flower, so I'm just going to do one of them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a hook on the end of that wire like that. So I'm just going to pop that to one side for now. I'm going to open a packet of paste here. I'm using a different paste to the one that I normally use, but I'm not putting grooves or anything in this. I don't particularly like this paste for the fact that wires don't stick to the paste and you have to use glue on them, but I'm not putting any wires actually into the paste this time. Now I've got some hard bits here. I've shown this before. If you get a bit of hard bit in your paste, just get your roller on it and roll it out and crush it like that, and then that will go back to the way you want it, nice and stretchy and kneady. I think that's alright, is that part, just that little bit on the top. Now you need a lot of petals for this particular flower, so you may need a pen and paper here, so if you pause the video and go get your pen and paper and write these things down. For the small petal like this, you're going to need 35 petals, because you've got 7 centres like this, where you've got 5 petals all together. So I'm only going to do one of them. I've already got all my bits and pieces already dried and ready to put together for the next part of the flower. Now when you're rolling this paste out, make sure you get it as thin as you can. The thinner it is, the easier it is to handle for things like this, because otherwise you end up with too much bulk. And I know when I've gone for competition, sometimes I think the paste is a bit thick and they've got gold medals, you know, and I have my way of doing things and everybody else has their way. According to the judges, as long as you've got thin edges, which is where you go around with your ball tool, that's fine, but to me it's still too thick. If I'm doing things like roses and that, because the petals are very fine on a rose anyway, I'm doing the same thing in colour. I picked up a bit of dust there on my petal. Now, make sure that doesn't go anywhere where it can be seen. So first of all I'm going to cut out 5 petals. If you're not fast at doing this, then just do a few at a time and go at your own speed. So just take the excess away like that. Put that to one side. And get my pad Now there are some lovely pastel colours in these, probably some deep colours as well, but for this one, because I'm doing fairly pale colours, I'm starting off with everything white to start off with, and then I'll dust it to the colour that I want it to be. So if you get your ball tool, always with rose petals, start with the top round edge and bring it down to the point, like that. And then start on the other side and down the other side. The reason for that is when you're doing petals, when you turn them over, the petals are curving the way that you want them to go. So round the edge, round the edge. A lot of my students I found have difficulty drifting in because they try to go around the whole petal in one go, and that's how you end up missing the edge. You want to be half on and half off with anything that you're doing. In some books they tell you to vein things and then go around the edge, but I find it better to thin the edges first and then go in your veiner, because you lose some of the veining on the edge if you do it the other way, and to me it doesn't look lifelike then. So those petals are done. So turn them all over. I've already turned that one over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with one petal and glue half of the petal. Then get your wire, get your wire in between that petal like that, and then fold the petal round it like that. You can pull the wire down if it's showing a little bit, just to make sure it's right inside, you can't see it, so you've only got that little bit of open petal at the top. So next, with the next one, just glue down the centre of it, down the bottom half. Shouldn't have put that on there, should I? And then this petal goes slightly lower down, so that's slightly higher up like that, and bring your petal round onto your next petal again with that one slightly higher and bring it round like that, and then your final two petals bring that round like that, and then that one goes lower down like that. You only want a fraction of an inch above, so you've only, it's like steps down like that. Bring all your petals around. This is why you need your paste to be thin. And then put that to one side to dry. So we'll just get rid of that. So put that on one side to dry on your pad or whatever else you're putting it on. Make sure that they're all attached. Just squeeze them in a bit like that, and put those to one side to dry. So I'm just going to leave that on there for now, and then I've got all of my other centres here already. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 centres there. Doesn't matter what colour tape we use at this particular point. I'm going to use the light green because I've already got some from the last video out. So start off with your first centre, start your tape off it, stretch your tape, see which side it sticks to your finger, that's that side, so that wants to come round like that onto there. Now I'm just going to adjust my camera so you can see what I'm doing here, that's better, and go around with it like that. Take your next centre, tape it in at the same level. Now what I do is I bend them back slightly like that so that they all fit together. Now in some instructions in some books they tell you to stick them together and that. I tried that and they, unless you know what you're doing and you're used to doing it, they fall off, so I'm not doing it that way. This is the way I've always done them. Now with this type of rose you can either have 4 centres or you can have 7 centres like I've got here, but this one looked really effective with the 7 centres, so I've stuck with that one. Once you've got them all in, you can adjust them as you want them to be. Oops, nearly knocked me the bowl tool off. Be needing that shortly. So basically you're just making a rosette with these centres here, and then your last one will go in there, like that. Don't forget to pull your wires down to make sure that everything is in nice and tight. And then tape down the whole lot, down the whole stem. There we are. Then you can adjust your petals then until you've got them just as you want them, like that. Okay, so now I'm going to turn that upside down, because the next steps I find putting the next layers of petals on a lot easier if it's upside down, because it's quite a flat flower. So if you look at this one that I've already done, ready to colour, I did it like that, and it's a lot easier to get your petals to go, because they are quite a flat rows of these. And I do know that because I've got some in my garden. I've got a lovely pale pink and a pale peachy coloured one in the garden. Can't remember what the names are, but I have. Right, so we're going to get rid of the small cutter. And we'll start by kneading the paste to start off with. Now with the next petals, we're going to vein those as well as cutting. I'll just get those two petals out of the way. I'm going to use a rose petal veiner to vein each of the petals now. It's always worth investing in things like that, because once you've got them, there's quite a few things you can do with them. If you go back in my video, I'd use the hellebore veiner, but looking at the top for the hellebore and looking at the top of this rose petal cutter is very similar to the hellebore. So if you want to make hellebores and you haven't got the hellebore veiner, use the rose petal veiner for that. Sometimes I try and use the same veiner for other things, like certain leaves I use rose leaf veiners as well, so that's another useful one to have in your arsenal of petals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a load of petals here. I'm only going to stick a few on, and then I'll switch off and come back to it when I've got them all on, so you can see. You don't have to watch me put the whole lot on, because there's going to be a lot of petals on this now. And I've got some colour on my roller again. I should have wiped down the side here before I started cutting things out. Now you need your petals to be very thin for this, because we're going to stick them directly on there. They're not going to be wired, they're all going to be attached with glue. Now, according to my original teacher when I first started doing this, you should be able to read a newspaper through your paste. I'm not saying you have to get a newspaper out and put it on it, but that's how thin it should be. And you can tell by running your hands over the top that don't feel thin enough, doesn't that? You'll be able to tell when it's thin enough. Because if you're using this board, the cell board, because it's got little flecks in, you will start to see the flecks come through, and you'll know that at that point you've got it thin enough. You probably won't be able to see that on camera, but they are starting to show through now. So for this stage of the thing. Now you can do either 30 or 35 petals. Yes, I know, it's a lot, hallelujah. This is why sugar flowers cost so much, because the amount of work that goes into them. So I'm going to start cutting out a few petals now. I've got 17 petals there. I have to keep that in my head and remember how many I've cut out. Take all your excess paste away. That's actually a rose leaf cutter, but I couldn't find the cutter of that size, so I've improvised. I know it'll be around somewhere. I'll probably fall over it when I'm not looking for it, but because it's the same on the other side, like the rose petal, I thought I'll use that. Right, so then onto your pad. Oh, squash that one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do 2 or 3 of the, about 4 or 5 of these and attach them to the flower. Then I'll go off and finish them all and then come back to you. So start off by thinning your edges. 1, 2, 3. That's 5 of those. Right, just move the centre up there. Move these down here. You want a firm surface to do this on. Don't do it on your pad because you need to be able to get some pressure on here. So put your petal into the verner. This is the front of the petal, so that'll be the front of the petal I'm going to attach to the rose. So you do that. So once I've done those, we'll get that first layer on. Right, so back to the glue. And glue half of your petal. And that sticks over that join there, like that. Make sure that's attached. Doesn't matter about shaping petals at this point. Go from that one to the next, not the next couple, go on to the alternate one. So you want to go, leave a gap in between. They don't go together like a conventional rose, don't these? Makes you wonder what you're doing out in the garden when you're inspecting things so closely, isn't it? Then on to the next one. Now that's going to overlap that first one, is that one on that side. Then your next one overlaps those first two there, like that. We'll just do another couple of petals. Into the there. Oops, nearly. If you keep it flat in front of you, you can see where you're going with it. So I'll just turn that round, move that out of the way, and then that one goes over those two there. And then that one goes over there. So we've got to that stage now. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on with these petals and get all of them on. I have to cut some more out and do those. So I'll come back to you when I've got the rest of them done. Well, I'm back again. I'm down to my last few petals now. So I'll just finish putting these on. And then we'll get on to the next layer. So if I just glue all these to start off with, so they're all ready to go on, I can do this a little bit quicker. Now I got the number of petals wrong before. I think I said 30 petals and it isn't, it's 25 petals for this layer. And you can slide your petals down a little bit as well, so they come a little bit further out. Right, so that's all of those petals on now, all 25 of them. So that's how we're looking now. So we'll just pop that to one side for a minute, whilst I cut out the next lot with the next size of petals. And I'm just checking up on my list to see how many I need on the last ones, just to be on the safe side so I don't give you misinformation. Right, we want 10 petals this time, so I'm just going to get some more paste out. So the number of petals that you need, just to go over them, for the first lot for your centre you need 7 lots of 5, so that's 35 petals for the first part of your rose. Then 25 petals of the medium size cutter that you stick all the way around, as I've just done now. And then onto this layer, then it's 10 petals. So it's 35, 25 and then 10. That makes it easier to remember. Where there's a will, there's a way when you want to remember things. And I'm getting old, so I'm having difficulty remembering things these days. So excuse me. But there again, I mean, if anybody asks me any question about sugarcraft, I usually know the answer. I've done it again. I've got colour on my roller. Very careful that I don't do what I've just done. Fortunately, it's going to be covered over when I colour the flower. But I always make sure if I get anything like that, and make sure it's, when you cut your petals out, it's in a part that's not going to be seen. Again, don't forget to roll your paste really thin. Just move that cutter out of the way. Right, so on to the larger cutter now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See if we can get another one out of there. You will get one out. 10. Just missed a little bit on the edge, but never mind. Where there's a will, there's a way. Saves me having to roll lots of paste out. When you've been doing it a while, you get used to how much paste you need for the number of pieces you've got to take out. And you can always use your cutter as a gauge when you're rolling your paste out, if that makes it easier for you. Right, onto your pad. Making sure I've got my microphone on. I did one video once and I had to do it all again because I forgot to switch my microphone on. So there was a video and no voice. I know some people do videos with no commentary, but it does make it an awful lot easier if people are telling you what they're doing as and when they're doing it. Same as before, top edge down, top edge down. Hope everybody's enjoying starting to get back to normal after the pandemic. I know I'm dying to get out somewhere because I've been shielding for the last year. And apart from going out to do some shopping, that's all I've done. And I'd love to go somewhere different, like I used to be able to do, going to markets and things like that. I'm not bothered about going to the pub because I don't drink much anyway, so, but I have got friends that want to go out for a drink, so it'll be a novelty being able to go somewhere. Friends that I haven't seen for a long time. Nearly there. Good job I'm a fairly fast worker, isn't it? But when you get into production, when you're doing them for cakes, you need to be able to move at a faster pace, because time is money and the longer it takes you, then the more you have to charge for them. Right, so into your verner. Just even it out before you put it in, then you don't get any creases, and I've just got a little bit of a crease in that petal, so just be careful about that when you're using these verners, when you've got little crevices like that. It's very easy to make a slight error. As I've said before in previous videos, don't forget to hit the bell at the bottom to find out when I'm uploading a new video, and then you'll be notified. Also, it'd be good if you could subscribe to the channel as well. The more subscribers I've got, the better it is for me. Doesn't cost you anything to subscribe unless you want to be a paid member. And also, if you've got any comments about anything that I'm doing, or any suggestions for anything you'd like to see me do, then please do mention below, and I will try and fit in anything that I can at some point in time. If you go to my channel and have a look through and see what I've done, and then you can see what I haven't done, and if there's anything that you would like to see me do, then please get in touch and let me know. Right, so next stage. I'm just going to move those over there, and then this over here. Put that on there. Then nothing gets damaged. I'm lucky enough to have 2 pads. Right, again, glue half of the petal. You're going further up with your glue with this because it's a much larger petal. And the same as you did before, wherever you start, go over the join of those 2 petals there. Miss that one and go on to that one. No, I didn't. No, I tell a lie there. I'm doing the same as a normal rose now. I'm over and under. Correct myself. I'm forgetting what I did with the last one. So again, half your petal, and then this time you're going to overlap next to it there. So your points are going to go next to each other, and your petals will fall where they fall. So your last petal is going to go underneath your first petal. It's a lot easier when it's laid down like this, because with a lot of things you've got to lift them up and where are we? A bit more glue on there. That one's going to go in there. It's going to go over that one and under that one a little bit. I'm just going to shuffle these round a little bit so that that goes underneath there, like that. That's it. Right, then start on your next layer then. So just get all these off and get the glue on them. So I'm going to go over that joint now, like that. And if you aim to get each of these petals over the join of the previous layer, like there, everything will fall in the right place, just as you want it to be. Put that onto there and that over. That's it. Now then, you can adjust your petals now. This is where you need to curve them back a bit. On this particular rose, the inner petals don't curve back as much until you get to the outer petals. So you can start going round now and giving the petals a little bit of movement. And the advantage with that little groove there from the top of the veiner gives you an indication of where your petals want to curve, and they go back, they go into shape a lot easier if you've done if you use the vernier to get it just there like it is. There we are. So that's that part so far. So I'm going to put that to one side to dry now. And we get, sorry, I've missed a bit. I haven't put the calyx on, have I? Right, calyx. As some people would say, you'd forget your head if it was loose. And I nearly did, I missed that bit there. You could wait until it's dried if you wanted to do this part, but I'm going to do this now. So then I've done all the parts of the rose. Things like rose leaves and things like that, you can go back to my other videos. They are more or less greener, these. You don't need the red on the edge like you do on some of the other roses. But the leaves are smaller as well, so you want a bit like a wild rose, doing more smaller leaves rather than the big set like we did on the others, because they are much smaller rose leaves on a David Austin rose. Not like your HTs and Floribundas. Right, cutter, calyx cutter, cut that shape out. Right, so what I'm going to do here now, before I thin the edges, I've got a pair of, where's my curved scissors here? And I find what I've done with them. Should be here somewhere. Can't find them. Right, just get a pair of nail scissors, and just on each side, very fine, right to the very edge, do some little snips. If you've got some curved ones, I got some curved ones from a pound shop a couple of years ago, and they come in handy because you can get really fine hairs on the edge of your sepals and your calyx with those. And make sure you have the curving out when you do this, but don't cut the little bit off. You don't have to be too bothered about where they go, just get them. You can put 2 or 3 snips in, whatever you want, like that. Let's get back onto there with that, and then go round the edge with your bowl tool to thin your edges out like that. Right, so once you've done that, what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to have these curving back a bit, so just run your ball tool down the centre like that. Now normally if you're putting them in a spray, you could do this while it's still soft before you put it in the spray, because otherwise it can break off. Turn it over and go into the centre and make a dimple like that. So what I need to do now is to glue the centre part here and just a little bit up the base of the sepals like that. Turn your flower over, pop that into the centre like that, and then bring your calyx down. Now your calyx wants to drop over the join of your petals. If you can see where the edge of the petals here, that's where your calyx wants to be. So then just even that down like that, and then a small ball of paste, try not to get any cracks in it. Apparently if you roll it anti-clockwise you don't get any cracks in. I've mentioned this before, but for anybody that hasn't watched my other videos, sometimes I have a habit of repeating myself, but if you haven't seen my other videos you won't know what I'm talking about. A little bit of glue just at the base of your calyx. Put the ball of paste down your wire like that, and then just shape that round the back just to make the hip on the back of the rose like that. So there you've got that. So what you can do then is, if you just curl these the calyx back like that, because on an actual rose it doesn't lay flat on the back, it does curl back like that. So if you can see underneath how it goes, get it in shot. There we are. So I'm just going to pop that to one side now to dry. And we need some kitchen roll. If you can, try not to do it on your board, and then you don't get powder on your board. Now I've got two shades of peach colours. I can't tell you what colours they are because the labels are worn off on the top, so I've no idea what colours I'm using there, but that's par for the course. Then I want a brush that I've used for that sort of colour before. That'll do. I keep different brushes for different things, like in the last video I used the red and the green. I keep those just for those sort of colours. Right, so I'm going to start off with the light colour first of all. Get that onto my pad. I need quite a lot of this because I'm going to do all over the rose with this. So start from the outer edge and start brushing it in. It doesn't matter if you get some parts a little bit darker than others, for the simple reason that in nature things do tend to vary quite a lot, you know, so just be careful of your calyx on the back that you don't catch it. I just caught it with my finger a little bit there, so just have to be a little bit careful, otherwise you start breaking bits off if you're not if you don't watch it. Then come into your inner petals and bring it all the way in. And then into your inner petals. Just get your brush down in between. You can go a little bit heavier on the centre because we're going to make that a darker colour. And then I'm just going to go on to the back, and I'm going to go down the back with some of this colour. I'm not going to go too heavy with it because, like on most flowers, you find that the in fact you could actually place that down on your pad. The backs of the petals and leaves and that are darker than lighter than the front, so you don't want to go too heavy with your colour on there. It's just to give it a bit of, so it doesn't look unfinished, if you know what I mean. Don't matter about the other petals because you can't see in there. You can go in down and in between with your brush if you wish. Right, so when we've done that colour, while I'm on the back, I'm just going to do the calyx at the back as well. When I find a green, there we are. I'm going to use my trusty ginkgo for that. Green brush. Got too much powder on there, so don't forget to get it off your brush. And then just dust. I've done it again, look, I've got too much powder on my brush, so it's going on the petals. Just make sure you blow it off straight away, otherwise it will stain. I know somewhere, I can't remember where I saw it, somebody had a camera dust blower that you use for cameras for blowing the dust off your lenses for that job, and I thought that was a good idea. Right, so I've got the back of the calyx done. I'm not doing underneath because the underneath part, sorry about that last bit, I didn't have my microphone switched on, but I have now. So I'm going over the centre. As I was saying, I have actually got one in my garden when it comes out in the summertime, this colour, and it's a lovely rose, the colour of it. And as I say, I've also got a pink one as well. There's lots of different colours in them. If you go to your garden centre and have a look, I don't know about your garden centre, but my garden centre, they have a section just with all of the David Austin roses together. There we are. So that's the centre of that done. So once you've done that, like you do with other flowers, I don't always say this every time, then you can steam the flower to get your colour. I've just missed a bit at the back there with the light apricot that I've just seen, so we'll just get into that. That's it. Better. So there's your David Austin rose. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I look forward to coming to see me in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell at the bottom of the page to find out when I'm uploading new videos. And if you've got any questions or anything you'd like to see me do, I know I'm repeating myself, please leave comments in the bottom and I'll try and do whatever you would like me to do. So go on my channel and have a look and see what I've done. So anyway, take care everybody, see you soon and stay safe.